Hi everyone. My name is Marcus. I use any pronouns. I'm 22. I started working here in November as a barista. So we've probably talked, but not a lot beyond like what kind of milk do you want in your latte. Yeah, I'm slowly transitioning into taking over Issa's job. So they're kind of on the way out, and I'm kind of on the way in. So I'll be working with kids and the family ministry stuff. Yeah, I don't want to say I fell into working at Urban Abbey because that isn't right. Like I applied and everything, but but I didn't, expect to be working at a church. As a grown-up, I've always struggled with my queerness and my faith, and I still do sometimes. And I'm sure this is not a unique experience for a lot of you all, which is why I feel so happy to be here and sharing with this day with you all and everything. But anyways, I had a really tough time in high school when I came out as trans. I started using a chosen name, and that was a really big deal. I'm from Grand Island. Yeah, yeah. But so they were like, you actually can't do that. So they published all my school newspaper articles under my feminine name, and they printed it in all the play programs, and even said it over the loudspeaker when I was a drum major. Like they really rubbed it in, and it was really tough, but it's okay. I thought church was another one of those spaces, especially because like the people at my school were using church as a reason why they could do this, And unlike band or choir, I was like, I'll put up with it to do that. But church, I was like, I don't know, not worth it. But then I joined the River City Mixed Chorus, which is like a choir here in Omaha. And I started to realize that I was missing church. It was so weird. We were singing like this really choral arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I was like, I could finally sing like the lowest parts of like the gospel music. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. Yeah, so part of it was the music, but also part of it was just being in a community of people, like meeting strangers and trying to be nice to them, even though it's scary. I'm sure you all experienced that coming here as well. So yeah, I was realizing I was missing church. Yeah, and I was beginning to heal from all that stuff I went through, and the gratitude I have that I made it out of that, and that I found communities like the River City Mixed Chorus and like Urban Abbey, I can only describe as divine and sacred. Like, yeah, for the first time, I had begun to feel the love that I'd been preached to about my whole life, and it wasn't through reciting prayer perfectly or abstaining from being queer or, whatever. It was from singing with other queer people. And I feel it still, even marching alongside friends in the parade and dancing at the Max and hearing the drag brunch when I wash dishes here and in all your smiling faces. So yeah, I think a lot of people kind of present a false binary of not just queerness and faith, but also like queerness and being from the Midwest. Like you kind of have to either conform or leave, but I don't think that's true, yeah. And so I guess that's what, if you could take anything from this, it's that you don't have to choose between being queer or being here, or being queer or being Christian. You get to do both, and the world's your oyster. So yeah, while my experiences were tough and I wouldn't wish them on anyone else, I am thankful that they gave me kind of a unique position to appreciate the blue dot, or like these little pockets of safety we have in Nebraska, because Grand Island is just 2 hours away and like the third biggest area in Nebraska, and it was still that bad. So there's still, work we need to do. But today is not about that. It's about celebrating who we are and being proud of that. So yeah, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Melanie Peltz. My pronouns are she, her. I am not going to tell you how old I am. I'm usually at the 9 a.m. service, so it's a joy to be with you 11 o'clockers. So thank you for having me. I'm going to be totally predictable for a moment and ask you to guess what I watched during Pride Month. I'm going to give you, given my, your guess on my age, my gender identity, sexual orientation, race, I bet you won't be shocked to hear it was the Indigo Girls documentary, It's Only Life After All. Aren't you, you're hearing it in your head, aren't you? There were so many treasures in their stories. These two women have lived extraordinary lives, writing revolutionary poetry, serving humbly as advocates for social change and justice. But they've also experienced their fair share of violence and misogyny, homophobia, the internal and external variety. For me, they're a wellspring of strength and courage and hope because my life experiences converge with theirs in many ways. Tremendous abundance paired with gaping wounds. So with some help from the Indigo Girls this Pride Sunday morning, I'm going to be more vulnerable than usual. You see, Pride holds sort of this duality for me that I think the Indigo Girls didn't shy away from, and I think can be compared to glitter. Where there's glitter, there's usually a celebration. There's also usually a mess. And so too with Pride. This morning we'll lean into the both and of Pride because like glitter, it's shiny, it brings joy, it is also stubborn, and gets in all of the hard spaces to clean. It's only life after all, yeah? On Pride Sundays in the past, you guys have heard about my fairy tale wedding in a van down by the river. Sure, we had our share of hiccups and roadblocks on the way, but what wedding plan doesn't, right? But I mean, crossing state lines, finding safe venues, not defrocking pastors along the way isn't usually part of the wedding planning challenges, but we got married, we had great parties, the shiny, joy-inducing glitter stuff is what I tend to embrace. What I can't forget, for me and my community, is that our wedding story is as wildly ridiculous as it is because we live in the margins and the corners and the edges. You know, the place where the glitter is the hardest to clean. So today we wrestle with and acknowledge the both and of Pride Sunday, that we throw glitter with joyful abandon and we suffer chronically the mess of stubborn glitter. But back to the Indigo Girls. So in the documentary, we see a clip of an MTV interview with Emily and Amy where the reporter tactlessly asks, "From the MTV fact sheet, let's hear from you. What is sexy?" Can you even? Like, the list of things that are wrong with that question, it's a long list, and I edited it out because I wanted to be mindful of our time together. But the question is rage bait, and yet they kept their cool way better than I would have, and they navigated the misogyny like experts, and they answered. So Amy says, Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek Next Generation is sexy. And Emily says, country music is sexy. Oh, yes. And the reporter says, great. I cannot love their answers enough, right? People who are LGBTQ, and women for that matter, get dumb questions like this all the time, right? Who's the man in your relationship? Why do you want men in women's sports? Do you know, insert a gay person that they might know? This is the hard to clean, stubborn glitter. And I can imagine the bone-deep fear as these two queer women draw a line in their sand with their answers, and they whisper and they shout at the same time. Perhaps we need to reevaluate our priorities. They still bring hope and whimsy, shiny glitter. But back to my wedding. So for our big party, because we had like 3, we developed our guest list, sent the announcements, glitter not included, and crossed our fingers. Will people come? Is the support and love we think is there actually there from our family and friends? If you've sent out invitations for major life events, you know the feeling of anticipation. Waiting at the mailbox for those RSVPs to come pouring in, the resounding yeses, the wouldn't miss it's, and the little notes that say, it's gonna be the wedding of this century, of course we'll be there. It was as though every yes was a glitter bomb. And then one RSVP comes. It is a yes. This happened this morning. I'll get over it. Okay, it's a yes from a family of 5. My brother-in-law, nephews, and niece would not attend. And then I had another RSVP from one of my best friends, sorority sisters from college. I had been in her wedding. It would be too difficult because she's breastfeeding. We also had a stack of unsent invitations for relatives we hadn't yet come out to. These were the relics of our doubt, the paperweight announcements that carried fears of rejection, because I was scared of losing them. My beloved maternal grandmother, who I love dearly, was not there. My aunts and uncles weren't there. It's a tough truth to say out loud 15 years later. Some weren't there because they made a choice, others because I made a choice for them. I was afraid to come out and invite them. Arguably, one of the most important occasions in my life, unimaginable joy, unbelievable mess. These parts of the story I don't tell or I bury because they caused pain and shame. So many family members, some close friends, not at my wedding. This unstable balance of unconditional love and support from so many, countering the sting of rejection and the shame of homophobia. But fast forward through 15 years and a lot of tough conversations, and I know that the RSVP from my sister's family would be all yeses now. My nephew and his wife have given me the greatest great-nephew on the planet, and that's a position I will argue for him. They bring him to our pride celebrations, to the pride party. He's got bracelets stacked up like I do on his little 3-year-old arms. They encourage their child to spread his love to all. So those of us who have to know that coming out is never ending, it's never done. The cycle of throwing the glitter and cleaning it up is perpetual. And in spite of it all, beautiful, stubborn love keeps showing up. You might know that this week, Pete Buttigieg was on the campaign trail for Denise Powell. And in his remarks when he was here, he said, in a free country, women ought to be able to make their own choices pertaining to their bodies. Children ought to be able to have access to high quality early education. People ought to have access to affordable health care. And then he says, in a free country, you get to be who you are and love who you love without fear. And that, folks, that was the statement that got people out of their seats, that had the place erupting in cheers and chants, raising their voices, standing in hope because there is so much despair. A powerful reminder that we're all in this together. We're not alone. One more glitter bomb. Every year, some of my students go on this camp that we do with inclusive communities. Like Urban Abbey's done a lot of work with inclusive communities, and this camp is called Inclusity. And in that camp, we participate in what's called a culture walk. It helps us understand the experiences and lenses through which others navigate life. So participants step forward, if they're willing, when a statement aligns with how they identify. So if you identify as having been raised poor, step forward. If you identify as being an immigrant, step forward, or a Christian, or being over 40, which is the one I hate the most. When the step forward, if you identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender statement comes up, it doesn't matter how many times I've participated in this activity, my feet feel heavy. It doesn't matter if my students know my sexual orientation, it is still a slog to step forward. But when one of my students who graduated last year and came back as a counselor at this camp walked up to me with tears in his eyes and thanked me for offering him a space to live authentically, to feel safe, to come out, to support that discovery, there was that both and again. This Pride Sunday, may we have the courage to throw glitter with joyful abandon and work together to cleanse the chronic mess of stubborn glitter. Both and until only love remains. May we have the courage. May it be so. Amen.